Chapter 114. Am willing to die for her. You're wondering why he's hostile to you. Ziyu's divine sense could tell at a glance that Songshi was puzzled. Yes. I'm wondering if into handsome and suave that I make people jealous. Songshi was wary of this woman. Her observation was too detailed, making it difficult for him to hide his thoughts. I've met confident people before, but they're still a little lacking compared to you. Ziyu looked at Songshi with interest. Are you interested in becoming my disciple? The bewitching voice spread. Songshi was a little confused. What did she mean? I'm just an outsider. How can I acknowledge senior as my master? If you're willing, it's naturally possible. No. When Songshi heard this, he felt that something was wrong and rejected without hesitation. Give me a reason. There was a hint of playfulness in Ziyu's eyes. Do you know that you rejected an opportunity to have to work a few decades less? I know, but the nature of our cultivation techniques doesn't match. Songshi did not believe that there was anything such as a free lunch in the world, unless it was something given to him by the system. Not bad. You are someone who have their own way of thinking instead of just following the flow. Ziyu sat up. Her graceful figure was one that could make any man's imagination run wild. Her eyes lit up. You've passed the first test. Now, it's an official test. Official test. Songshi was shocked and realized that something was wrong. Swoosh. Two pairs of purple-like pillars suddenly shot out from Ziyu's eyes and landed into Songshi's eyes, causing his eyes to stop focusing and become dull. Ziyu trapped Songshi's will, and her voice became serious. She asked, "Your name is Songshi?" "Yes." "When did you start cultivating?" 2 months ago. Songshi did not say too much. He was worried that Ziyu would find out his secret. Ziyu frowned when she heard that. How was it possible for him to reach foundation establishment in 2 months? Even having a Kane Dharma body shouldn't be like this, right? Liu Ruxu only gave you the cultivation manual a month ago. Why did you start cultivating 2 months ago? Practicing martial arts. Ziyu seemed to be deep in thought. She did not ask further to avoid provoking Songshi. Instead, she changed the topic. Did anyone ask you to join the Yao Moon Palace? Liu Ruxu asked me to join. Pools, Elder Yuan. Who else besides the two of them? That's all. Ziyu paused and stared at Songshi seriously. She was sure that this kid was completely hypnotized and did not lie to her. Songshi answered in a daze, as if he was speaking from the bottom of his heart. However, in reality, Songshi's spiritual strength was much more powerful. The Grand Moon visualization method allowed him to remain conscious deep in his consciousness, even though he could not wake up. The state he was in now was as if he was lucid dreaming. In the dream, another him was standing in the palace, answering questions with a blank expression. However, he stood at the side. He could not control his body and could only control his speech. At this moment, he was very afraid and thought, this woman actually knows tricks like the bewitching technique and wants to get information from me. Ziyu's gaze changed, and there was an inexplicable look in her eyes. She smiled and said, "How did you meet her?" She was the new top hostess of New Moon Brothel at that time. I spent a lot of money to hire her. Other than her, what other woman do you have? No one. Do you like her? Ito. How much do you like her? I don't know how to answer that, but am willing to die for her. Ziyu's pupils constricted as she looked at Songshi in a daze. The person trapped by her, Ziyu's illusion, was speaking from the bottom of his heart. This man would actually die for a woman. He was really a rare one in the cultivation world. She asked curiously, "Then why are you willing to die for her?" "She's my woman. It's only right for me to die for her. Moreover, she helped me a lot and even gave me cultivation techniques. There's no way to repay her." Ziyu's gaze became more colorful. She did not expect this secular young master to be so loyal. This was rare in the cultivation world. Young people are really naive. She chuckled. "I heard that you joined the Demon Slayers division." "I was a temporary helper for a few days." "Just a temporary helper?" "Yes, although I haven't had the time to get any information from them yet." Songshi was still brooding over it. Ziyu sneered. "Those guys loves to find temporary helpers. So they don't have to pay up when they die." She asked curiously, "What did you obtain in the Demon Slayers division?" "It's just a low-level spell. They didn't give me anything else. It's a loss." "You seem to have a problem with that." "Well, I think they're using me as they wish. Hearing that Sanshi did not have a deep relationship with the Demon Slayers division, Ziyu asked again, "Where did your martial arts cultivation technique come from?" Sanshi's heart skipped a beat. He had really asked for trouble this time. He said, "A senior gave it to me." Ziyu narrowed her eyes and raised her voice. "What's their name?" "Didn't know. He suddenly appeared 2 months ago and gave me a cultivation technique. He said that if I cultivate the cultivation technique to perfection, I would have a chance to see him again." Sanshi had no choice but to make up a lie. Otherwise, he would not be able to explain the origins of the cultivation technique. Ziyu stared at Sanshi and fell silent. Sanshi was nervous. Could it be that she realized that he was not completely under her spell? A moment later, Ziyu suddenly asked, "Do you like me?" Sanshi wanted to curse in his heart. It was one thing for this woman to hypnotize and to ask for information, but she actually had to ask this question. He could only say in a daze, "I don't know. I like beautiful women, but I've never seen you before, so I can't be sure." "Are you a philanderer?" "I'm fickle, am attracted to beautiful women." Amidst her laughter, Ziyu found Sanshi's inner thoughts interesting and was amused. Sanshi's body trembled and he woke up from his daze. The laughter in his ears became much clearer, and Sanshi regained consciousness. He looked at Ziyu in a daze. This woman knew how to hypnotize people. If he had been completely controlled just now, would he have revealed his system? Thinking of this, he could not help but tremble in fear. Ziyu was very satisfied with this reaction. She smiled elegantly. "Don't be nervous. This is a test that you have to go through to enter the Yao Moon Palace. You have passed. Thank you for your trouble, senior." Sanshi pretended to be grateful and unaware of what had happened. "You can leave. I'll arrange for someone to make you an outer sect elder." "Yes." Sanshi finally left with lingering fears in his mind. He had just arrived at the Yao Moon Palace, but this woman had already taught him a lesson and almost caused him to mess up big time. After he left, Ziyu looked behind the door. "Come out." A woman in white walked out with tears in her eyes. It was Liu Ruxu. She looked at the door in a daze with a smile on her lips. "Silly boy, who asked you to die for me?" Although she was rebuking him, the tenderness and sweetness in her eyes intensified. Husband and wife were birds of the same forest one. It was common for them to fly away from each other during a disaster, be it in the cultivation world or in the mortal world, especially in the cultivation world where people were indifferent to each other. Such people who were willing to die for their Dao companions were extremely rare. Your Dao companion's foundation is not bad, but has a little fickle, Ziyu commented. However, he has something to do with the Demon Slayers division and a mysterious martial arts powerhouse. According to the palace rules, he can't enter the intersect for the time being. I understand. Liu Ruxu wiped her tears and bowed respectfully. She naturally had no objections. In fact, it was already good enough that Sanshi could pass the inspection. At the very least, he was not someone with ulterior motives.